Hi, Rebecca here. Thanks so much for joining me today. Today's practice is going to be strength and flexibility for forearm stand. They are going to be the warm-ups for core and shoulders and legs. So even if you do not have an inversion practice, these are great drills to strengthen your practice, whether it's shoulders, core, legs, and things that you can apply to, for instance, downward facing dog. We're going to use a couple of blocks today and also a resistance band. So I have a few different kinds. I've got this one. This is like $11 off of Amazon. I have this, and you can probably find these at Target, Walmart. There's this resistance band. It's a little more challenging. It's probably like a heavy band. I'm not going to use it, but if you had one that maybe was a little bit more moderate in resistance, that would work really well. Also, a TheraBand works perfectly. You can see this one's super fancy since I have tied it together, but I use it almost daily for the exercise that I'm going to show you today. So whatever you've got, and if you don't have it, just do body weighted. You can still do the movements without the resistance. So let's put these aside. So let's get started. I'm going to have us begin on our backs to bring in some mobility into the thoracic rib cage. Now I like to have my block on the medium setting. You could have it on the low setting. It's just going to depend on what feels best in your shoulders and your back. I'm going to place this one block right underneath my shoulders. I'm going to use the other block for underneath my head. So we begin in a back bend, stretching the arms out wide. Your legs could be straight, knees could be bent, legs could be in butterfly. Drop into your body and your breath by drawing the breath in and out through your nostrils, deeply, fully filling yourself up. So inversions are more challenging practices. So do what feels accessible to you. I will offer modifications. And then I just want you to notice like what maybe your beliefs or maybe mental blocks that you have. Because whether we think we can or we can't, both are true. We can drop into possibility or we can be in limitation. And I'm not going to suggest one is right or wrong. Yoga is a practice of self-awareness, so we want to become aware. And then maybe we start to work to shift the internal dialogue. I know for myself, working on inversions has helped me just overcome challenges, and not just on my mat. I realize that I can work through those challenges off of my mat as well, do things that scare me. And I work with it here on my mat as well as off of my mat. All right, we're going to set this block that's underneath, if you have a block underneath the head, we're going to set it off to the side and use your hands, interlace them behind your head. Let the elbow tips drop out to the sides and then draw your chin towards your chest, curl through the upper back, elbow tips hug toward one another. Abdominals will come online here. And then press it back and open. We'll do this a few more times, curling through the upper back and dropping it. All right, I want you to grab that block that we set off to the side. I want you to place it between your palms the wide way and then bring your biceps along your ears. Let your head drop back. Try to keep biceps and ears in line. So even if your head will drop back a little bit further, keep it lifted in line so ears are with biceps. Arms are straight. This is more of a handstand stretch, but it will benefit us in the forearm stand as well. And then we're going to reach the arms up toward the sky. We're going to come up into a seat. We're going to send both blocks off to the side. And then I want you to imagine you're curling. This is a Pilates roll up. I want you to imagine you are curling over a ball. So the ribs are pressing back, the navel's pressing back as we reach forward. So hollowed out belly, rounded upper back, and then slow lower onto your back. Reach the arms overhead, full body stretch. And we'll do this a few more times. Chin toward the chest as you rise, curl over that imaginary ball. And bring it back down. Let's do that for 3, 2, last one. And when we come up, we're gonna hold it for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bend your knees. Bring your hands behind your hamstrings, and we're gonna roll back and bring it forward. Toes can tap down to touch, or they can hover. Try to keep your rib cage and your thighs as close together as possible. Warming up our abdominals. This next roll, we're gonna hold it Navasana boat pose. You can keep the hands at the hamstrings. If you need support, you can bring the arms back behind you. You can float the arms. It is, the modification for boat would be with the knees bent. If you want more legs straightened, we're gonna do V sit-ups. We're gonna hover our boat, bring it low, and then lift it. Lower and lift. For 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Whew. Feeling those? Let's stretch it out in a reverse table. So hands come back behind. Lift your hips, stretch out your abdominals, your hip flexors. Maybe you let the head drop back or you draw your chin toward your chest. All right, now we're gonna play with pendulum. So as the hips come down, they come between the hands and we scoop the belly in and up. Way to modify for this would be, if you cannot get the hips lifted and bring them back, use the blocks. And we come through reverse table to pendulum. For 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Hold it here. Maybe lift one leg, lift the other. If you're super strong and we can lift both legs, lift them both. And then bring it down. And reach your hands toward your toes. Let's just take a forward fold. One more round of breath. Rising up, we're going to strengthen the front side of the legs here. Hands could be behind you, along your hips. It gets harder as you move the hands forward. We're going to lift right leg. Scoop the belly in and up. Find a little cat spine for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Keep it. And imagine you're using a pulley to lift your leg. And let it go. You can tap it out. And then we will switch. Scoop the belly in and up. Shoulder blades protract and then lift and lower the left leg for 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold it. And then Imagine you are lifting it with an imaginary pulley. And let it go. Tap it out. Cross the legs. Let's come to all fours, puppy pose, reaching the hands forward. Melt your chest and your chin down toward the floor. Hips stacked over knees, and soften through the shoulders. And then let's walk the hands back, coming into a kneel. Take the hands back behind you. Lift your hips. And release. Another core and hip flexor exercise. Hands come alongside the thighs. Might want to use the blocks again for this. We're going to draw our chin toward our chest. We're going to lift our thighs toward our ribs, lift our hips toward the sky, gazing slightly forward, and then bring it down. We're going to lift and lower. If the foot being an extension, top of the toes pressing down, creates an issue, you can always tuck the toes. You just want to remember to be really light in the feet. We are working shoulders, abdominals, hip flexors here. Let's do it for 3, 2, last one, hold it, and bring it down. Grab a hold of your band. You're gonna drop your shoulders away from your ears. Arms stay in alongside the rib cage, palms are up, thumbs are facing out, and we are going to pull that band apart, working our external rotators. For 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold it here. Try to hug the elbows, make the elbows a little more narrow, arms wider, and lifting the elbows no higher than your shoulders, and then bring them back down. Lift and lower for 8, 7. I swear these get easier if you practice them more often. 6. I do them every day. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bring it down. For most our own balances, even the basic inversion we do in most yoga classes, which is downward facing dog, we're playing with external rotation. So when we're in forearm stand, our forearms make a number 11. And we use the stacking of the elbow underneath the shoulder to create strength at the base. Now what happens for a lot of us is the elbows start to come out. We are no longer stacked. So we're recruiting other muscles, which we don't want to do, right? We want to use the stack. We want to use the external rotators, and we want to use this stack of the bones to create that foundation. So bringing your hands down, shoulder width apart. I just want us to play with the internal and external rotation of the arms. So eyes of the elbows are facing forward, and then turn them toward the inside, toward the back, and then bring them forward and take them back. So this is your ulna, your radius in the lower arm, your humerus in the upper arm that is helping you create this rotation. Keep the eyes of the elbows forward, tabletop, hips over knees, and we're gonna warm up our serratus muscle. But first I want you to notice the position of your head. We don't want the head dropping down. We don't want it gazing forward. We want the face, our gaze down toward the mat. We want to slide the back of our head into an imaginary headrest. So the ears are sliding back, the chin are sliding back, head and hips are not moving. Arms are locked, so I want your elbows locked and straight. Drop your sternum in your chest between the shoulder blades. Keep the head neutral. Make sure that it doesn't start to jut forward. And then squeeze your shoulder blades onto your back. Imagine you're grabbing a pencil, and then you release the pencil. Grab it, squeeze it, and then release. We're going to do that for 3, 2, 1. If you've never done the serratus push-up, stay with the tabletop serratus push-up. Otherwise, more challenge, we come into a plank, we have a slight tuck in the tailbone, and we drop the sternum and we press the floor away. Head is neutral. I'm saying this as much for you as for me, because my head tends to want to come forward. All right, next time you protract those shoulders and press the floor away, keep the eyes of the elbows forward. Lift your hips up toward the sky. So this is a 3/4 dog. I don't want you to go all the way. I want you to keep the eyes of the elbows forward, elbows hugging in toward the midline, and then come back to plank, serratus push up, protract, and then 3/4 dog, lift the hips. And we're gonna do that for 3. This is a progression of our serratus push-up, 2. So if you need to, keep the knees down. Last one. From your 3/4 dog. All right, so if you're doing okay here, hold it, or option to drop the forearms down toward the floor, let them hover, and then press back up. Drop them down, don't let those elbows press out to the sides, and then press it back up. For 3, 2, and 1. Hover here for 5. Hug those elbows together. 4, 3, 2, 1. Child's pose, let it go. That's a lot, I know. Such great training and strength though for the shoulders. All right, we're gonna come forward. We are going to stack our elbows underneath our shoulders, clasping the hands, bringing them together. We're gonna extend right leg back, and we are gonna lift it up toward the sky and then tap the toes down. Lift and tap for 8. Squeeze your glute and your hamstring. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold it here, tiny pulses for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring it down. Left leg reaches back behind you, tops of the toes press down, and then lift the leg and lower. Lift and lower. So now we're working hip extensors for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold it up high for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring that left knee down. Chin comes forward, torso comes forward. We want that chin to come forward of the hands and then press it back. Chin comes forward and then press it back. All right, more challenge. You tuck the toes and lift the knees. So forearm plank rock for 3, 2, and 1. If you want more challenge still, hips lift, walking the feet in towards your elbows. And then again, you shift the chin forward and press it back to dolphin for 4, 3, 2, 1. And once again, bring it down. Take a child's pose, 3 deep breaths, reset. And then walk your hands back behind you, stretch it out. Maybe drop the head back. Okay, so we're going to do a half forearm. It's going to be one arm is going to be in forearm, one arm is going to be in chaturanga. And we're going to play with dolphin from there. So you're going to bring right forearm down. You're going to stack that elbow underneath your shoulder. And then left hand wants to be, ideally you want to align it along with right elbow. So fingers could come a little bit forward, they can drop back, but it's a chaturanga arm, 90-ish degree angle. And then we're gonna tuck our toes and lift our hips. Maybe you stay right here, or option to lift left leg. So press into that right forearm, press the floor away from you, anchor down through left hand, lift that left leg, and make sure that the hip is not opening out to the left. We want to drop that left side of the pelvis down, spiral the inner thigh up toward the ceiling. And release it and switch. Left arm comes down into our forearm arm. Elbow underneath the shoulder, and then right hand is just going to come shoulder width distance across and align fingers in alignment with that left elbow, 90-degree angle with that right arm, and then we're going to lift the hips, walking the toes in, and then lifting right leg here. Press into that left forearm, really engaging your left shoulder blade onto your back, and then think about dropping that right outer hip down, spiraling right inner thigh up. And release. Let it go. All right, dolphin pose with some kick-ups here if you want to play. So forearms make that number 11. There's a couple different options for hand position. You could place a block between the hands. Forearms make that number 11. Remember, we want to squeeze those elbows toward the midline. So this is one option. Another option is to simply clasp the hands like this. The last option is to take the hands, pinky fingers come forward, index fingers come forward, and thumbs press together. So it's just that middle and ring finger that are hugging in. And then rise up to your dolphin. Try to bring those hips to stack over your shoulders, and then lift right leg. So we're dialing that right inner thigh up toward the ceiling, pressing the forearms down. We gaze down between the forearms, and maybe you take some little hops here. And if you're trying to get up, it can be a lot easier if you try to do a stag leg versus straight. Do like 3 hops and then let it go. And then we'll switch to the other side. Maybe you play with a different arm variation on this side. We find our dolphin. Ears drop between the biceps. Left leg lifts, spiral left inner thigh up toward the ceiling. And then if you want to play with hops and you have not gotten into forearm stand, I would suggest bending the leg, shorten the lever, and then just taking some little hops. Gaze is down to the floor between the forearms, closer to the elbow. And then bring it down and let it go. Another option, if the hops are not working for you and you're not catching the hips over the shoulders. If you've got wall space, you come up against the wall. We'll come into a tabletop. Choose your hand variation. And then you rise up into a forearm down dog or dolphin pose. And then you start to walk the feet up the wall, coming into an L shape. Maybe you stay here, or you straighten a leg up toward the ceiling. Or you bend the leg and you start taking some hops here off of the wall. So these are just some options to play with. If you want to play with your inversion further, feel free to keep playing. If you're not interested in doing the inversions, no big deal. This was just a warm-up, a little play, some strength, some mobility to get you to a place where at least the body is prepared to play. So let's just close out with 3 deep breaths here. We're going to reach the arms up overhead and then exhale, bring hands to heart. 2 more times. Inhale, arms rise. Exhale, hands to heart. Last one. Inhale, arms rise. Exhale, hands to heart. Taking a few moments just to observe the effects of your practice. What's happening in the mind, whether you are in that place of feeling limited or if you're feeling anything is possible. Hari Om Tat Sat. Thanks so much for joining me. Have a great day.